If it doesn't.
Oh yeah, okay. It says upcoming 9:20 p.m. Tier list upcoming. Notify me. Notification was set when it's about to start.
Are you telling me it hasn't started yet?
Well, I can refresh. Live. It says live. Okay. Yeah, I see you rubbing your beard.
That's my
Not
thinking.
anymore.
Yeah. Wow, we're so good at this. Okay. All right, we're live. We're good. What the heck? I just lost it. Okay, we're back.
I don't see your mouth moving on the screen.
Am I frozen?
No, there must be a pretty big delay. And now you just laughed at my joke, so there's a decent delay there. So
Okay, let me get this posted a few places. Oops, that is not the right thing. I'll just do it on my phone. It's easier.
I got the sound turned off on YouTube.
Yeah, that's good. I just checked real quick, so it sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Good morning, Ken.
Good morning, Mike.
How are you this morning?
Terrific. Yourself?
Good. You ever have beer for breakfast?
Beer for breakfast. I've probably had like beer brats or beer cheese something for breakfast, but probably never beer.
That's close enough, I guess. Do you and Gordon record in the morning now?
We record every morning. I mean, when we record,
Every
it's in the morning.
I was gonna say that's ambitious.
No.
All right.
People trying to get us to record more often, but we're not going to.
Some of us do try to get you to do that. That's true.
I can only stand Gordon about once a month, so.
It's more than I can stand him. So you're doing.
Hey, well, I take one for the team.
So today we're going to be tiering all the classic cheese armies. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 20 different cheese armies up here. You might be wondering, well, you said every cheese army, and there's technically more armies that you can play, but the answer is we're only tiering like reasonably good to like the best armies in the game, right? We're tiering the best possible things you can bring. We're not tiering Grok Riders. Sorry to say that. Although if you want to watch some pretty elite Grok Rider gameplay, you can wait for Ryan's new Vassal tutorial to drop, where I play Grox into his 4th Mass Charos. And let me just say, I made some moves, made some plays. So if people want to see
You did a mind shackle?
No, he wanted to stop after round 1 when I had taken control of the board and traded 2 Groks for, I think 4 4th Mass. And then I still had Nagaxa, Nagaxa full life, Miberxa full life. I was getting there. But he wanted to stop, so I wonder why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To be fair,
those kids nowadays.
To be fair, my win condition was absolutely Mind Shackle Nagaxa, Mind Shackle Charos in the end game, or like technically your attacks of 5 with Grox into Charos can actually do some work, but the problem is he just kind of kills one a turn with his own 5v3s, so it's definitely a little hairy. Yeah. But anyways, Grox wouldn't quite be on this tier list.
That's disappointing.
Now, I mean, Grox piloted by me probably at least makes tier 3, but, Grox in general.
Well, I mean, I mean, I don't know if we're going to talk about that, but like, I mean, the player does play a part of this tier list in some aspects, right?
I don't know.
But anyway,
I heard um I heard the game's all luck, so I don't know about that.
I only heard 98% luck, so I didn't
Mm,
hear all luck.
okay, fair enough. Chris, why not tiers 1 to 5? So the reason for that is I think like if you see like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5, like it makes it, I know it's 100% like a feelings thing, so Ken can stop listening, but basically like tier 1 to tier 5 seems like a huge gap, which I don't think is really accurate. Like the tier 1.5 armies like I think are just like a slight step below. If I was ranking more, if we were ranking more armies, let's say we were actually ranking all the way down to even uh Tagawa Samurai Archers, right? Sure, tier 5 makes sense for TSA, but like I think it makes sense to have more granularity within the top armies, which is what we're talking about. Now, see, Ken, I clearly still have at least 4 numbers because I do have the 5 for the point fives. I
Or
appreciate
maybe
I appreciate that you're chirping in chat too. So do I want
I try
a
to.
minus 3/4? Yes, absolutely.
I actually agree with Chris on this, but that's okay.
I knew you would. But anyways, that's the way I view it, as like a tier 1.5 army, and we'll explain what the tiers mean, or at least what they mean to me, and then Ken can say how I'm wrong. We might have to add a stingers tier somewhere in here as well, but we'll see.
Well, if you had more numbers on your keyboard,
Oh, so the cool thing about this tier list though is that we can actually change the labels. So like we could just say this is stingers tier, right? Down in tier, like the bottom is stingers.
yeah, the Stingers is a negative sideways 8, but we'll get there.
And yes, I know my keyboard is obnoxiously loud. There's nothing I can do about it. Everybody can deal with it. I'm not actually be typing much, so we're fine. I listened back to the beginning of the last one, and whoa, when I'm typing, sounds like bullets are flying. That's what happens when you have a laptop and not like an actual computer. Yeah, I don't think it really matters, Chris, at the end of the day. That's just the way and I see that in a lot of other games too. People talk about like tier 1, tier 1.5, tier 2. It's sort of made up. Obviously, everything's made up, etc. But that's sort of the way I've heard it. I've seen it in a lot of other games when stuff is closer together. HeroScape has such a spread though. Like Templar cavalry are just not at the level of heavy gruts, right? Like there's such a disparity there. All right, so let's talk about the tiers. Tier 1. Tier 1 is what I would expect to, you're not just see a lot of, but like it's also going to perform well. Like these are sort of your like the best of the best armies. I would expect this, like if you told me one of these won a big cheese event, I would not be surprised at all, right? You would expect to see these win. And I think tier 1.5 is sort of that, but a little worse. And I think it'll make sense once we're actually into it. Tier 2, I would say, is like you would expect to see, like, you wouldn't be surprised if somebody snuck into top cut with this, but you wouldn't really expect to see them actually pull out the W, right? Like if we're talking like ScapeCon 4 structure, which I want to talk about that meta for a minute as well, before we jump into the actual tiering stuff. You know, they might go 4-1 and seeking to cut, but are they realistically then going 3 or 4-0 in top cut against good players playing good armies, like very good armies at this point? They're hitting all tier 1.5 and tier 1 armies. Like I would say probably not. I wouldn't expect to see them be able to pull it out. Tier 2.5 is a slight step below that. It's even, it's even hairier whether they're actually going to make cut. Maybe they can sneak in, but they're almost certainly not going to actually win one of these events. And then tier 3 is where it's like, I put it up here just because I think it's like, it's ranked kind of highly, but I don't actually think it has a real shot in cheese if we're being quite honest. Maybe with a truly favorable metagame, it could do well, but overall, you're not going to expect to see this, even make it into top cut. It would be unlikely. So that's like the general breakdown. I think let's first talk about ScapeCon 4 cheese, because it's like really there had not been a big cheese event, classic cheese event at least, since 2010 when we decided to run this at ScapeCon 4. And that was in 2024, and that's really still been the only big one for classic cheese. And I think there are a couple things that factor into it. First of all, of course, point total, figure limit always plays into army choices. Also, player preferences. ScapeCon is a weight than fire friendly meta, where it's just like a lot of people are going to play something like 10th, and in fact, that's what we saw at the top of the meta. Or at least as the lion's share of the meta. 42% of the field was playing either 10th or Q9 Rats. The event itself was actually won by Q9 Rats, right? So there were 10 10th players and 9 Q9 Rats players. And then it really dropped off after that. So I think that's like immediately, and 10th placed top 4, I believe. The top cut of there were, I think, 9 or 10 players, and I believe there were 4 or 5 Q9 Rats and I think 3 10th Regiment in the top cut, the top 9 or 10 players. So, not only were these, and you would expect that, like, if it's good army, it's making up this large of a share of the field, you would expect to see it convert, reasonably well into some top cut spots. But they actually sort of, especially Q9 Rats, overperformed. All but one of the 9 Q9 Rats players at ScapeCon 4 went 3 and 2 or better, right? So the 3 and 2s were one game away from making it into cut. And then, so I think immediately when you're talking about classic cheese, and maybe Ken will immediately disagree with me, but I think Q9 Rats goes into tier 1. It was the finals mirror match in 2010. It took down ScapeCon 4 in 2024. I think everything else sort of, like, this is sort of the baseline army to where, like, if you need to have some game into it if you want to do well. You can try like a path through Swiss by trying to just dodge it. But at the end of the day, this is just like one of the best armies in the game. If not, some people would argue it's absolutely the best army in the game. I'm not sure if Ken disputes that.
Oh, 100%. I do. I didn't. Did we start yet? I was just. You were talking about ScapeCon. I didn't know. Like you. Okay.
I was trying. Right, so I don't want to go through all the armies. I figure we'll jump back and forth a little bit, but I wanted to start by showing that the lion's share of the meta was 2 armies: Q9 Rats and 10th Regiment, right? And so Q9 Rats is, like, most people when they think cheese, they think Q9 Rats.
I agree. I don't know if it's tier 1, but I think like this is going to be just a perspective difference here with, and I know you are probably one of the only few other people, maybe Titus out there, that share like the melee focus perspective. But I just don't think Q9 Rats from that perspective is a tier 1. I think it's probably a tier 1.5 for sure, but I wouldn't put it at a tier 1. But I can see where, like, if you're factoring in like weight than fire into the equation, Q9 Rats is going to be higher because of the weight than fire versus, like, if against melee, like, I'm going to think 10th are going to be higher, right? So, like, from my perspective, I think it's a 1.5. So,
Chris, do you want to jump in the call? I think I need defense. I think I need help in this fight. I'll absolutely patch you in.
I mean, he's going to be wrong because he agrees with me on heavies. So in heavies beat Q9. So
heavies,
and I think knights fight him. I think knights fight him to a standstill, and I think dwarves got a shot. So, like, I don't think dwarves have a good shot, but they have a shot. So,
okay, I agree with you on heavies being favored. I think knights are also slightly favored. Because again, we are talking about like we're assuming the players are playing at like a 90 to 95% level, right? Like we're assuming they're going to make a few misplays in there, but they're going to overall play the game well, right? Like that's just like a baseline assumption. You have to assume that they're going to play well. If you're talking about like bad player playing, like Q9 Rats might not even be tier 2 because like.
Yeah, I mean, you got to factor that out, right? We can't. I mean, we got to basically say that the same players playing, the same player levels playing all these armies, right?
Correct. Like somebody that knows how to play the matchup from their side.
Like Adam's playing Q9 Rights, I'm playing Knights, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Um,
where like um and we're not at knights yet, but like Q9 rats, and I think we can. Let's start with the triangle. What I would consider the triangle, what a lot of people consider the triangle. If first of all we talk about the meta share at ScapeCon 4, it was largely 10th, largely Q9 rats. And then I
and then
think the
heavies is
third
the
part
last
is
part, right?
the right. So that's sort of the triangle where like 10th beat heavies, heavies beat Q9 rats, Q9 rats beat 10th. Now none of these are 100% matchups, right? Like heavies into Q9 rats. It really depends on the map and the glyphs, etc., as to like how favored it is for heavies. I think there's some maps where like heavies are favored potentially like 75-25 or maybe even 80-20. On other maps, it might be closer to 60-40, right? Like there are just certain maps that are just like worse for Grimnack, worse for 5-move melee. It's more open. There's not a move lift. There's no jungle. There might be road, but maybe it's not implemented well into the map to where it doesn't actually change the matchup that much. Like so because really it's like how much time does Q9 get to just like let's say A, establish a really good rat position, but B, more importantly, just like how many shots does he get for free before the heavies crash in, right? Like is the map just like really long with like extremely split start zones to where the heavies, can't um split start zones actually probably help the heavies more than they hurt the heavies in that
Correct.
matchup. Because
Correct.
Q9 rats,
Yep.
they're going to develop up anyway. So that not really that part, but really I think just like the amount of time they get in the map. So like Turmoil, for example, is a map I distinctly remember from ScapeCon 4 that's just so pro heavy because it's very flat. It's like you can move from your start zone to attacking down into your opponent's start zone from road in 2 turns with a 5-move melee figure. Like that's a short map. It's also very flat and it has shadow going through the middle. So that's a map that I would consider very favorable to where I think heavies win that matchup on that map probably 75 to 80% of the time, right? Anyways, you can do sort of that same equation for all 3 armies here. Their matchups into each other. Each one is generally favored into the other, but it does depend on player decisions. For example, at that ScapeCon, like 10th Regiment didn't have a good win percentage into heavies, strangely enough, because the players playing the 10th weren't targeting correctly. They were letting
They
Grimnack
were not
getting
targeting. I watched many of those games, and they were not going after Grimnack like they should have.
right. So again, we're assuming like if the 10th are played really well with like correct targeting priorities, the 10th should be favored into the heavies. They just should. They're getting weight and fire shots. They have 5 defense because of Raylan. If Grimnack doesn't chomp, half the 10th regiment, it's just really hard for 3v5s. Like if Grimnack goes down, the heavies are rolling 3v5s, which are really not ideal. Not when the 10th are then shooting back 3v3s or 3v4s with Nirak, but then they can easily kill Nirak too. So each side of the triangle sort of counters one of the others and then loses to the other. Do you dispute any of these three as like I know like you sort of think here, but if we're
Uh,
talking just like meta broadly as opposed to like personal perspective of just like what am I personally scared to see, etc., like do you kind of agree with this as like initially before considering the other armies like a tier 1 triangle?
I mean, it's hard to put biases aside, right? Like for me, 10th Regiment would be tier 0. If we're doing this, just because like it's just that's the most threatening. That's the Matthias Kryptonite old school. So it's hard to get past that. But I do think like that is by far that is the quote unquote triangle. I do think like heavies beat 10th more than 10th beat Q9, if that makes sense.
I'm not sure about that
And then
actually.
really interesting.
I've seen
So
I've seen some good 10th play into Q9 routes that changed my opinion on that.
hmm.
I think
so
the
and,
10th
but I
player
mean,
has options, but anyways, it's not great, of course.
yeah, I just think maybe it's slightly like I think heavies are slightly better than 10th are than 10th is in the Q9.
Maybe slightly,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, and then I think so. I guess Q9 is maybe more consistent. I think Q9 is probably more consistent against the rest of the field. Because well, I don't even know because heavies actually yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about that when we get there. But um, I mean, I'm not happy about it, but I'm okay with it.
Okay.
And that's the best you're gonna get from me.
That's very fair. And if we jump back to the pie chart, heavies, there were 3 heavies out of 45 people. So again, it really dropped off to where after the 10 10th and the 9 Q9 rats, you're down to 4 4 3 3 2 1, and then a bunch of ones. But part of that's the point was the point total and figure limit. I believe, if I remember correctly, it was 450 and 20 figures was the morning portion of the event, which is what mattered for general play rate, which meant that you had 5x 10th with Raylan, you had the various Q9 rats builds, but it was based, oh no, it was 400, sorry, it was 400 points, and so that meant you were seeing 4 squads of 10th with Raylan, and then you were seeing 3 squads of rats, Q9 and Raylan, which are both like at 400 points, both very good armies. The heavies were a little weaker there at 400, but they were still playable. You're looking at 3 squads of heavies with Grimnak and Nirak. You could try the 4 squads of heavies Grimnak build, but I definitely think 3 squads with Nirak is better because you just want Grimnak to have that 5 defense dice.
Yeah, it would have been interesting too, though, because it felt like they weren't targeting Grimnak as much, but they might have if Nirak wasn't there. So yeah,
right.
It's interesting. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm not sure that there would, like, it was pretty much an ideal point total for Q9 rats. Honestly, like that Q9 rat army at 400 is just so strong. They could choose to bring Marku, or they could choose to float those 20 points for the afternoon, which there were arguments for both depending on what you were trying to add for the afternoon. That's the fun part about reinforcements, of course, is like how much do you float, if any, right? Do you just like max out with fillers and stuff in the morning to improve your chances on like a Wanok board in the mirror match, for example, or, there are a lot of considerations there. Which is pretty cool. I like the reinforcement structure a lot. But anyways, that's like, I think that's important to know, is like the heavies build was a little weaker, just like in a vacuum, right? Like it wasn't 450 where at 450 you're getting 4 squads of heavies, Grimnak and Nirak, and that feels like that army just feels so amazing, right? Like that just feels like such the perfect ratio of squads to heroes of that, like 450 to me is like one of, if not the best heavy point totals in the game.
Yeah, and back to the Q9 Rats army, it's been interesting to watch that evolve a bit from Q9 Rats Crab to Q9 Rats Hydra. And I'm not saying one's necessarily better than the other, which I think there is, but it's been interesting to kind of watch that last piece evolve a bit. So
you mean after Raylan? So like when you're adding for the afternoon portion?
I just mean in general, like a lot of people, including Raylan, C tier at best. But anyway, not really. She's B. But yeah, people would fill that in with Crab, and then they switched to Hydra at some point, and then
that was really Doc's.
I think sometimes
that was Doc's.
Yeah, Adam did it.
Yep.
11 or 10.
That was 2010.
Okay.
2010. It helps in the mirror match, right, to have Hydra for your opponent's Q9, right. And then like Crab are actually they're not great into Q9 because he can just go 9 attacks a 1 and fish for the whiffs, and that means he's on average sending 4 to 5 hits a turn into them, and they whiff. Even with Raylan, they whiff like 11% of the time. So basically, in 2 turns, he's going to get 1 on average, which is pretty rough for them.
And they do similar things,
right?
So so Hydra kind of changes that up. But anyway, so just kind of looking at this tier list over a period of time, it's been interesting to watch, like, Fourth Mass, Q9 Rats, like heavies, or I guess it was first Aerograts, then Fourth, then Trons. It's been interesting to kind of watch this evolve over time.
Yeah. So I now want to jump to the other end of the spectrum and talk about what I think is the worst army when we consider that this is like the starting place for the metagame.
I'm excited about this.
It's not going to be the one you think. It's not going to be the one you think. We're going to have different opinions on the one you're thinking about. I think Phantom Knights are just kind of awful in this metagame, right? I think they actually have more play potentially in V-Cheese, but I think in Classic Cheese, when the best 3 armies are Q9 Rats, 10th, and Heavies, and Phantom Knights are not particularly good into any one of those, there's no reason to play them.
I mean, they're okay. They're okay in the 10th, right? But they're not
I think they
phenomenal.
get
So,
slammed by 10th. I don't think they're okay into
so
10th because 10th are getting 5 defense dice with Raylan. So like
it,
you
it depends what their other. It depends what their other pieces
it
are.
depends on the other piece,
So
absolutely. And so that's the question: is like, do you
yeah,
go pure Phantom Knights? You go Phantom Knights with like Nilfheim, which is what the one Phantom Knight player did at ScapeCon, Nick the Ant. I think he went like 2 and 3, which is like kind of what I expect from a tier 3 army. It's just like they're not gonna like Nilf is not gonna carry enough weight into those armies, especially Nilf without scales is really not good into 10th regiment. If the 10th are played well, because like the 10th can just set up a 2 deep wall to where like Nilf flies in and ice shards 3 of them, and that means he's just automatically eating 4 weights and fires the next turn, right? Without Raylan, without green skills to protect him. Um, it's just not great. Like you can try to do like Phantoms with like Q9. There are some options, but at the end of the day, if we're going Phantom Knights and we're not even beating the one matchup that we could potentially have a shot in, which is the 10th, like we're definitely not being Q9 Rats if it's played well. And we're definitely not being heavies if it's played well. So unfortunately, I think in a different time, these would have been good because like in a like if had these come out earlier before like the Q9 Rats was so established that the metagame sort of like evolved around it. They might have been good into like the fourth mass armies, the Arrowgrat armies, those the Stinger armies. That would have been a lot. The Tron armies, they do match up well into Trons, so they could have been good at one point, but I think they're quite poor right now. I'm fairly confident saying that they're the worst army on this list. Let's put it that way.
oh, I don't agree with that,
I
but
know you don't
I
agree with
agree that
that.
I agree that they are tier 3 probably. So
Okay. All right, I'll take that, I guess. We're not going to agree on the worst army.
not even close.
Peter has it correct in chat. Well, presumably correct in chat.
Yeah, there might be one other army almost as bad as them in this list, but we'll see.
I don't know because I actually think it matches up decently. Unless we're thinking about we might be thinking about two different ones at that point. Let's go with Knights now. Because I think this is where it's going to start to get controversial is that depending on who you ask, you could see somebody put it all the way down in tier 2.5 or all the way up in tier
They'd
1.
be wrong.
Or all the way up in tier 1. And we're talking about pure Knights right now, right? We're talking just Knights times whatever
Knights Gilbert.
plus Gilbert plus maybe Eldgrim, right? Like that's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about Raylan Knights, which is a different army, like the Raylan Mara Warrior Knight army, which is a lot different because the Knights are a pseudo screen at that point.
Whoa. Wait, okay.
So, but I'm saying for
dropped
now,
the 2 point, dropped them in 2.5 there for a second.
Yeah, that's what I was showing. I was talking about that. I was showing the where people could place them. So tier 1 to tier 2.5, depending on who. For example, Foudzing, I think, would have them down here in 2.5. That's not what
I mean we know that that's wrong.
So I'm personally. So Chris is saying tier 1.5.
Chris is wrong. Chris hasn't won anything for like 2 years.
So let me ask you, why would you
Whoa, what are you moving it for?
Just to discuss. Hold on. Calm down.
Why, get that crap out of the two. There you go. Thank you.
So why would you bring Knights over heavies is probably the big question somebody would ask you. Like, we're assuming that these are the 3 big armies.
One more squad.
So do you think that 4 squads of Knights?
No, I think you I think that's the numbers game at that point, right? It's a numbers game, and I guess like maybe like there's the doubles. The maps are not as great for Grimnack. The double space figures. You need more maneuverability because the Knights are more maneuverable than the Orcs as a general rule, just because they don't have to try and bunch around Grimnack and or whatever, stay near X aura, so you're more likely to be able to push them a little further necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Coward's Reward, like Knights are probably better against Hydra. Like Coward's Reward is better than Disengage against Hydra. So I think I like the Knights better into like 4th. than I do like heavies, because heavies, like, you got to kind of move
Oh, I agree.
systematically. With knights, you can kind of sack them, if you can throw them in there if you need to here and there, while you're still, because Gilbert's still bringing up the back row the whole time, right? So
Yeah,
they
and
just they just
yeah.
they just reinforce better. They reinforce better. So
Hmm.
I think like that's why, I mean, and there's personal preference involved as well too. But like I think it's the fifth squad versus like near rack, right? Um, well, I don't think heavies are bad in the fourth either, Chris. I just think knights are better.
I agree with that. I agree with that because like
Yeah,
you remove the like the luck factor of them getting lucky into Grimnack or Nerak, like
right,
which is like often uncontrollable on an initiative switch. You
right.
can try to play around it, I guess, but it's pretty hard to play around like fourth mass going for initiative switch, weight, and fire play. Even if they're not getting height, they might just throw four attacks of three into him on their order marker one and kill him. And then you just sort of lose. Whereas like Gilbert gets to be so far back out of the action that like that's not really a big risk, right? You can just outgrind the fourth just by playing the knights portion of the army for like what would you say, the first 2/3 of the game, first half, first 2/3 of the game, right? Like he doesn't actually have to do
Yeah.
anything for you like as a fighter that whole time.
Well, and also, like, I think knights are better in the stingers too. I mean, everybody's good at stingers, but knights are
No, I
even
agree.
slightly better because,
Yeah,
like, you don't have to, like, once again, you're
it's the
not
same
trying to
thing.
keep Grimnack alive.
Correct.
You're not depending on, and then that's one thing stingers can do is kill Grimnack.
Correct.
Like the only thing in the whole game they know how to do is kill Grimnack. Um, so that's why, like, I think like knights have the edge there. So it just depends, but like the knights are by far worse than the Trons. Like knights are, like, you need Grimneck against Trons. You can't, like, knight. I don't think knights beat Trons maybe 15% of the time.
Yeah.
20% maybe. So like it just really, yeah. So I think like, and like knights are better in the Firestorm, I think, slightly. So that so yeah. So
Agreed.
it just kind of depends on what you think you're going to go up against.
The
But
thing is
that's why
though,
I think you take knights over heavies. So
but if we're talking about like the expected metagame, right? Like we look at again at this pie chart of 10th and Q9 rats being 44% of the or 42% of the meta, and like we're expecting to see a lot of the, like you can expect to face them 2 to 3 times in Swiss and then face them in top cut as well. Like it's kind of hard to me to justify taking knights over heavies.
I
uh,
mean, that's a you problem.
well, do you disagree with that point?
Um, I I don't think knights are substantially worse than a Q9. Um, and I think like the 10th matchup is pretty similar. Because once again, the ability to be able to throw them forward without having to worry about Grimnack and Nerak is great. So I don't know. Once I already knew we were going to disagree on this. Like I think they're tier one. I could see an argument for tier 1.5. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a good argument, but you could still have one.
Again, if
I
we're
mean,
assuming
but here's the
that,
deal. Here's the deal. If you throw Trons on there, then maybe I'm more willing to go tier 1.5. So I don't know. Like
Trons aren't going in tier one.
I know they're not,
Yeah.
but still, like the point is, like if I know Trons are going to be, like if I have it, like if I know Isaac's coming to the event, he's going to play Trons, or I'm going 20 years ago, Jeter's bringing Trons, so
Right.
um, then I'm more likely to run heavies because I know that like I'm going to have to face that at some point.
So there was one Glad Blast out of 45.
Which was it just bad point total or what?
It was a bad point. 400 is pretty rough for them because it's like two of each squads, and Raylan is 360, and like 40 points is not where you want to end up in
Oh, okay.
HeroScape.
No.
So it
Right,
wasn't a
right,
good
right.
point total, but also the metagame isn't that, like if we look at again 42% of the field is 10th and Q9 rats, those two combined, and those are not what Trons want to face, right? So I think the metagame is actually just really poor for Trons. Like the modern cheese metagame. Like, yeah, they're gonna beat the heavies, but like if you want to be favored into heavies, you would just play 10th because your Q9 matchup with 10th is a lot better than your Tron matchup with your 10th are better into Q9 than Trons are into Q9. At least that's what I've been told. I personally, I buy it because Q9 can just thin out the glads too quickly, whereas the 10th are just gonna like they just have so much. They have more redundancy. Whereas like once the glads fall, then you're using blast to still engage rats, which is pretty rough. You can't shoot Q9 ever because your random pot shots into Q9 are 1v9s. Like, it's not good.
Right. No, I agree. I'm just saying they're just brutal against knights. Like they just neuter knights.
Yes, absolutely.
And even the axe grinders, but we'll get there. So
we'll get to the axe grinders. So I want to, before we go anywhere else, let's get Knights Raylan, like the Knights Raylan with Mara Warriors build up there somewhere. It's interesting. I think it needs a higher point total to work. And that's the other thing. Like in discussing all of these builds, we're assuming a reasonably good point total for the army, right? Like we're not assuming that heavies are playing at 445. Okay, where it's like they don't get the 4 squads of heavies with Grimnack and Nirak. We're not assuming that Knights are playing at 450, where they don't get the 5th squad and have to play some filler for 65 points, which is honestly probably Mara Warriors if they have the space, but if not, it's like Zetacron. Like, that's not good. So we're assuming a reasonable point total for the army, and I think when the points work out, like the Knights Raylan Mara Warriors build, it has some arguments into like specifically Trons. Having the Mara Warriors improves the Trons matchup. I'm not sure how much it improves your other matchups though. Like if we think about like what the best armies are, I'm kind of inclined to think that Mara Warriors and Raylan improve your mirror, like other Knights builds. I know you're going to disagree with me on that. But I think having 6 defense sites with your Knights and being able to control the battlefield with Mara Warrior pings early, like you just lead out with them, and that seems pretty reasonable to me. And then your 10th matchup, like maybe, I don't think Mara Warriors really moves the needle a ton in that, just because like they're going to get some shots, but then the 10th shots are 3v5s bad.
I actually think it's worse. I actually think it's worse than the 10th, but I think at that point, like the pure Knights player has more board control than the Knights Raylan Mara Warriors because you're splitting order markers there, and the pure Knights players is not, so they're just able to continue to bring up the back line the whole time.
Yeah.
Right, but I mean, if you're playing more defensive, like I don't think it's better in the 10th at all. I could see it maybe it's better in a straight Knights. Like you're basically but. How many so then are you down 2 squads then?
Let's assume we're down 2 squads. Let's assume it's a difference between, and let's assume it's enough of a minimum. So like baseline 3 squads of Knights, Gilbert, Raylan, Mara Warriors versus 5 squads of Knight and Gilbert.
I think I like 5 squads better there, but I know
it'll first of all it'll depend on the map. Like if it's a jungle map,
sure,
definitely want the pure Knights there. If I think that can play into it. I don't know. 6 defense sites though for your Knights is still pretty strong.
So it's 5 when you're getting shot at from Mara Warriors.
Assuming you have like height or something, yeah.
No, because you have jungle. You just said.
No. I'm saying like now, assuming, sorry, I didn't specify this. I'm acknowledging the fact that like if there's jungle, like I'm preferring the straight Knights, but like if there's no jungle, let's say every map is reasonable for both sides. I think I do prefer the Knights the Raylan Mara Warriors because you do get the 6 defense sites. Like Knights taking 3v6s back aren't amazing. And
that's one where you might want to commit Gilbert earlier. So. But like I said, but them splitting order markers does give you a little bit more time to develop too. So maybe you don't have to say commit him as early as the other opponent would if they were doing something similar because they've had to split their order markers a bit.
Sure.
Because if you want to take ping shots early with Mara Warriors, we're going to have to develop a wall with the Knights first, and you probably want to move Raylan up. So it's just like, okay, so are your ping shots on turn 3? On round 1, are you I don't know. So
yeah, or you don't necessarily have to wall. I guess the problem with not walling in the mirror though is that like if they ever hit a good dispatch, you're just toast.
Right.
Like
it's so hard to guess dispatch, right?
Yeah. Sure, I can buy that then. And then I think into heavies, I'd rather have the 5 squads because just like chomp 100%. When you only have 12 Knights is not great. So, I think in this specific metagame, there's actually even an argument that maybe Knights Raylan is more like tier 2. Because
Yeah.
I'd rather have pure Knights into Q9 Rats.
Yes. And Phantom Knights. I mean, not that it matters. And Stingers. And Valiant Fourth. Like, I mean, just going down your list. The only thing I think it's better maybe in is the Trons.
Agreed. It's definitely better. It's better, and I'd probably rather have it. Well, I don't know if I'd rather have it into Firestorm. That's an interesting one.
I don't think so. I think you'd rather have pure Knights. I think you just need the numbers against Firestorm.
Yeah, I don't know. Having range is so good into Firestorm.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
Because you can force it.
It's probably Raylan's just so irrelevant though.
Sure, absolutely. I'm thinking more of just like the Mara Warriors can do a lot in that matchup. It just sort of depends. But at the same time, you have to be kind of careful to not like. I mean, I'm assuming you're not going to screw up and just let them get all the Maros in a turn, right? Like with Searings, etc. But like if it's played well, I think it does a lot.
We're assuming these are competent players, right?
So, yeah. So okay, I'm gonna tentatively, and this is all tentative, as we go, as we add more of these armies, I'll rearrange as we discuss if it makes sense. But I'm sort of liking this now. I was initially thinking tier 1.5 for Knights Raylan, but I think it's more like tier 2 in this metagame. I think in Vichys it has more play, but that's why I'm doing this with you now, is because like the Vichys meta is so different. Like you can't compare the two. It's just completely different. So like Knights Raylan Mar Warriors, I think is potentially better in that meta, but here I feel pretty comfortable saying tier 2 that you're probably better off just playing pure Knights into like the expected armies that you'll see. We've been talking a lot about Valiant Fourth, so I think we should get those up there. And to me, it's a tier 1.5 army. I really don't think it's a bad army. I think it plays into heavies fine. I think it plays into 10th reasonably fine. And I think it can play into Q9 Rats when played well. The big thing is without having to worry about Raylan, you can actually, I think, be more aggressive and take disengages potentially from Rats and just like sort of threaten Q9 better. You like Drake is not great. That's probably who you have for cleanup in the army. Depending on the point
or Alistair.
Or Alistair. Yeah, it's not amazing. You can maybe try to, like, I know people back in the day used to talk about like Sam Brown being such an improvement for fourth mass into the Q9 Rats matchup because it gives you a special attack, but that's honestly just complete cope. Like that's just not true at all. You're gonna put the order markers on Sam Brown to take your Fire and Rush special attack, which by the way is like the jankiest special attack in existence. Not the jankiest.
No, you're better off overextending with Alistair and taking 3 disengages to go hit Q9.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, there's an argument for tier 2 though. But at the end of the day, like just like spamming 5 squads of fourth mass into a metagame where it's like 4 squads of 10th and Raylan, like the numbers game isn't that bad for the fourth there, right? So I think it's kind of contextual. I could see an argument for either. I can't see lower than tier 2. Like I don't see a tier 2.5 for fourth. I think they're just generically too strong to go down there. But I think that like a Valiant fourth build, especially at like 420, of course, is the perfect total where they get 6 squads, and then like heavies don't get a 4th squad at that point. 10th Regiment are still at 4 squads in Raylan, and then Q9 Rats, like they're not adding anything great for, like they're at like 4 squads of Rats with Q9 and Raylan as their whole army. Like 6 squads of 4th mass can play into all of that. The problem is once you get above 420, you can't really add anything great for a long time. Like 590 gets you Drake Swarm tomorrow. What's Drake AOA? 135?
Even that's not amazing, right? Like Drake Swarm tomorrow added to your army.
Because everybody else has gotten so much more better.
Correct.
Like
it doesn't do much for you.
Yeah.
No, I'm cool at 1.5. Like I feel like the more other things you put on, the better they're gonna look anyway.
Right.
So it's funny because I think like this is the one thing that the PKs do decent at. So,
they definitely do.
So like it's yeah, but I'm fine. I'm cool at 1.5. Like I think they have decent play in everything on the board except Q9 Rats, right? So.
Yeah, I can see an argument for either, and again, it's one of those things we'll revisit a little later on into the list. But I think you could go tier 1.5 or tier 2. I don't think they're tier 1, and I don't think they're tier 2.5.
Nope.
They're sort of smack dab, like they're a very reasonable army to bring to a cheese event. Like I would not be surprised to see you top with it, but I would probably be a little surprised to see that they won. So maybe that's actually tier 2, right? Is like I would be a
And I
little
think,
surprised to see that they actually won the event.
yeah, and I think Chris has mentioned this a little bit in the chat a little bit, but they are very point and figure
Yeah.
dependent too, right?
100%. And they get some better filler in V cheese. So I actually think they're a little better in V cheese than in classic cheese. And again, like Q9 Rats.
Aren't you talking about V cheese later, dude? Or should I take a nap now? Like what's happening?
I'm just giving a little bit of context. Okay, we're fine. We're fine. I was just saying that they're a little bit better in V cheese. So, but here I think
you just
tier
dropped
2
them to
is,
tier 2.
I think tier 2 is accurate. Okay, the more I think about it, like
What?
I would be surprised. Like I would not. I think Knights have a better shot of winning a cheese event than 4th
Because of Q9.
because of Q9 more than anything else.
Okay.
And I don't think like the way 10th win a cheese event is by not having to play Q9 Rats a ton and having matchups into heavies and knights along the way, right? Like that's the way that the 10th win a cheese event more than anything else. And it's like the way 4th does that is like the same thing, but their matchup into those other things is worse than the 10th. Like if they're playing good knights players and good heavies players, I don't see how they go 4-1 in Swiss into like if 10th if a good 10th player hits 5 good knights/heavies players, I wouldn't be shocked. Like they're either going 3-2 or 4-1, right? If a good 4th player is playing those same heavies and knights players, I think they're more looking at like 2-3.
I think beating White and Fire with melee is probably slightly better than a good player, but I mean, I think we're getting semantics at that point. But you can put them at tier 2. I think they're probably tier 1.5, but it doesn't I don't.
We'll readjust.
They're ranged, so I do not give a crap. So.
Okay. I just think I would be less surprised to see that Knights won than 4th one at this point. Maybe that's wrong. Chris, we're definitely, first of all, Tommy, we're definitely not doing another one after this. That was my initial plan, but there's too much to talk about with classic cheese. Second, Chris, absolutely, I was already going to ask you for V cheese. Okay, so let's move on from Valiant 4th. Let's talk about Suicide 4th, which I think is pretty interesting. And we're going to talk about, like, it includes either Nilfheim or Q9. Those are the two big ones. I think Nilfheim is the best Suicide figure for them because, like, he just has all that offensive output to where they have to deal with him. They have to kill him, which is then going to turn on your 4th mass, right? Like, so if we look back at the pie chart, first of all, there were 4 knights, and there were only 2 Valiant 4th and 3 Suicide 4th. And this was at 400. The Valiant 4th army was pretty rough because you were playing light. You were at like 5 squads and then done, or like 4 squads and Alistair. Reasonable, but not amazing. The Suicide 4th build actually was pretty strong because it was Nilfheim with 3 squads of 4th. But at the end of the day, that's a little light on 4th. I think you want more like 470, or really it's 465, because that gets you 4 squads with Nilf. And I think that's just definitely stronger, right? Like the 4th squad of 4th definitely matters there. I think the Suicide 4th build is tier 1.5 though. I think it's better.
You think this is better than Valiant 4th?
I do.
Oh, I think you're 100% incorrect because I think this is way easier to play around. What do you do when Nilf has 1 hit point left? What do you do?
I mean, I'm still putting order mark. Like, are you saying like end of round? I have a 1 hit point Nilf.
Yeah, you have a 1 hit point Nilf. What are you doing?
I'm putting order marker 1 on him.
Okay, and then what are you doing for 2 and 3?
Well, if you just leave him be, then I could just do the same thing on order mark 1 in the next round, or I can shoot him on
sure,
order marker.
and I'm happy with you doing that.
So
I will take 1 attack of 3 attacks of 4, or I'll engage him.
So this is where I'm going to say that your melee perspective is coming out too much, and that I like Suicide 4th better into 2 of the 3 top armies. That's my argument for it.
You just like the special attack against rats.
I like the special attack against rats. I like I would rather have Nilf lead into 10th than just 4th. So I think personally, to me, I think the Suicide 4th build is a little better into the expected metagame, to where like if somebody, let's say at like 465, rolls up with Nilf and 4 squads of fourth, I think they're going to have a better shot to win that event than 6 squads of fourth and Eldgrim. Now, obviously, that's not a great point total for the fourth mass. We've already said that, but I just think I think what Nilfheim does for the army is just more important than extra squads of fourth. To where when it lines up right, I think it's a better army. Maybe that's a hot take. Maybe it should also be down in tier 2.
I think it's way worse than straight fourth. But once again, I do agree that I do see things from melee rose glasses or melee blinders or whatever. As a general rule, I try to pretend I know what else is going on, but sometimes I don't. But I just think like it's so much easier to do what I need to do. Like if I engage Nilf with one knight, and he's got 2 hit points left, are you going to disengage and try and lose that order marker? Or are you going to stay and fight him? And then,
it depends on how many order markers left. It depends on how many
right. But
then
if you do disengage, am I going to roll? It's just I think yeah, I think Valiant Fourth are better than Suicide Fourth for sure. I think Suicide Fourth give you more options at different point totals.
So the thing with that though is that if Nilf dies there, you're just getting free development. You're not actually doing anything else.
I mean, assuming that I have everybody in my start zone and I haven't pushed guys forward already.
But the thing is, he's going to force you.
The thing with Knights is engaging Nilf. He's got to decide if he wants to do Coward's Reward or if he wants to do a 4v4, and I might live through that with a Knight. And then
you're disengaging every time. You're disengaging. So the thing with Suicide Nilf is you're just playing him extremely aggressively and saying if you want a single engage, I'm just going to disengage every turn and take 3 4v4s into your Knights, and all that while it's you're not really making progress towards my fourth. You're not making much progress.
Then I think the person playing the Knights is playing it wrong. So, but
I feel like you haven't played against a good Suicide Nilf player. It's quite strong. When it's played well.
It's probably because they get knocked out before they have to play me.
Nice. Anyways, I think the army's real. It needs just like fourth mass. It needs a bit of a point total. Maybe it's tier 2. I don't know. I think it's better than Valiant Fourth, but
I do know it is tier 2.
Okay. I'll throw it down tier 2 for now. I'm definitely considering revisiting that one to tier 1.5, just because. In part because I'm not sure anything else goes up into, maybe something does. Okay, let's talk about another, actually, yeah, I already know the next army that goes up there. You're going to extremely disagree with this, but that's fine. Nilf scale, I think, is 1.5. It is favorable into Q9 Rats, which for a non-melee army, it's only 1 that's favorable into Q9 Rats. Maybe people can argue Stingers, I guess. It very playable into 10th. Very playable, it's playable into Knights, not amazing, and it struggles a bit with heavies. That's the short version of it.
Yeah, I mean, if I was doing it, it'd be a tier 2, but I understand your arguments. I think Knights and heavies beat it 80% of the time. I think it's interesting you like it against 10th.
I did
range 6 versus range 5.
So I know Ryan likes it versus 10th. He thinks it's slightly favored. Now, he's obviously a little biased towards it, but the more I think about it, I think if both players play it well, the 10th are too deep to where, even if you kill the first line, but so you have to get a little lucky, but if you kill the first line, you can then throw green skills in there and tie up those 10th anyways. So the more I've thought about it, and if the 10th live, they're getting 3v6s or 3v7s into Nilfheim because Raylan's going to be so far away from them that they can't shoot her. I think there's an argument for it into the matchup. I'm not convinced it's favored, but I think it's. I don't know how favored it is. It might not be super. It might be close, but I think it might be slight favor to Nilf. As weird as that might sound, because I think back in the day I used to think the opposite because I hadn't played into as good of 10th players as there are now. Because obviously the 10th players playing matters. And I also, my experience was more from me playing the 10th side into somebody that didn't really play the Nilf side that well, if that makes sense, right? The Nilf side definitely has to play it well. Or me playing non-bonding Nilf, which is a whole different beast. Non-bonding Nilf gets slaughtered by 10th, but that's a whole different animal than bonding Nilf.
Yeah, I just once again, I feel like there's too many moving. Like when somebody outranges somebody, there's more moving pieces, especially when you're trying to move Raylan up with him at the same time. Um, I don't know. I think 10th are favored into that. I mean, I don't care that much in all honesty, but I would put them at tier two. Tier 1.5 doesn't seem like it's horrible. I'm not, I'm not going to fight you in the parking lot because I feel it's that far off
Well,
or anything. But
I would hope you're not going to fight me in the parking lot in general.
it'd probably be more like the back alley,
Sure. The back room's escape con.
right? The CTG room.
Oh man. All right. So yeah, I think the Suicide Fourth. I agree with you, Chris. I think Suicide Fourth is probably tier two, just because it like Nilf is definitely better with scales. Like the Nilf scales army is better than the Suicide Fourth army. So yeah, I think that's right. All right, what are we tiering next?
Firestorm.
We can tier Firestorm next. People aren't gonna be. I'm between tier two and tier 2.5. I'm leaning tier two, but I could be convinced on 2.5.
I think two's fair because it's scary into like knights and heavies are scared of it.
You know what else it plays pretty well into?
Q9 rats.
Yep. If the Firestorm player knows what they're doing, that's what I brought as Bring 2 for EscapeCon 4, and I made it to, or not, EscapeCon East 2.
But
Was that was
I mean,
my
like
pair.
the Valiant Fourth just laugh at it, right?
Valley 4th is rough, 10th Regiment is rough. You got some rough
Yeah.
matchups in there. You're not looking to play those, but like you can play in everything else. Nilf scales, I'm assuming you have enough fire, like one of my issues with Firestorm is that the minimum point total is pretty high because like you need enough. Like I think 10 is where I feel comfortable playing it. Like 9 to 10, 9 is the minimum. I won't play 8. I was gonna play like that's why I didn't play Cheese at ScapeCon 4 was because I wanted to play Firestorm, but 8 fires just isn't quite enough even into your like more favored matchups because 8 is a little too fragile, right?
Yeah, I agree.
So I like it at like 9 to 10. At 10, you're at 470 though as a minimum. So I just think the minimum point total is a little rough for it. You have play into fourth. It's not amazing. You've play into Suicide Fourth. Not amazing. You have technically play into 10th. It's definitely not amazing. You can definitely play into Nilf. You are, I think, slightly favored into Q9 Rats when played well. And then, or if the Q9 Rats player misplays, of course. But otherwise, just like fires are quite good at dealing with screens. And then knights and heavies are
how do you think they play in the Trons?
So that's another thing that's worth talking about is I think that like it's sort of map dependent. But I think you're potentially favored into Trons. I think you're favored into Trons, but not like hugely favored, if that makes sense.
Yeah, fascinating matchup actually. I've never thought about that until just literally right now.
You don't want to like try to like you want to engage one a turn, I think, in that matchup early because you don't want to like the worst thing you can do is like you want to maximize your burns per fire elemental in that matchup, right? So like if I take one fire elemental up and engage like even one, but ideally like 2 gladiatrons, okay? Now I get 3 chances at that burn plus the 1 4v7. Or 4v6, sorry. Yeah. 4v6, assuming no height, no shadow, whatever.
Right.
If I then engage with the second on the same ward marker, I'm only getting 2 burns for that one, and then now I'm losing 2 on the back end. Like, you're always going to lose that the fires you engage with on the back end until you've killed enough Trons to thin them out. So I think in that matchup, if you play it well, which means really disciplined, the ping shots from the blast do absolutely nothing into your developing fires that aren't actually engaging yet. So I think it's a skill testing matchup, but I think it's actually like fire favored, not free, but I think fire favored when played correctly from the fire side, which is not just like monkey brain in 3 fires a turn, because that's like the quickest way to just lose.
And I think the counter that the Glad player has to be super conservative about pushing his Glads out too, right?
100%. And that's what I mean by skill testing. Is
he's got a pretty big area of control,
right,
with Cyber Claw. So like he's got to be. Oh, that's a fascinating.
And
the blast, that might be a matchup I'd actually be super interested in watching.
And the Blast player is going to want to use pings, like base pings, as a tool in that matchup, right? More so than versus other melee armies. Yeah, it's yeah, and that's honestly the way the Q9 Rats matchup plays out a little bit too. Is sort of that way where it's like Q9 pings from 8 range to be super safe, and you don't want to just monkey brain in 3 a turn with the fires because Q9 is just going to Quiglix them and now you're in trouble, right? Like all these things. And then also another huge thing with range versus Karak armies is just like range controlling Karak himself, to where like if a fire goes to this spot on the map, it's leaving aura. So now it's a dead fire to where he can't act, like it'll still burn, but he can't activate it. So like both players need to manage that appropriately. It's honestly, that's the other reason that I think it doesn't see play is, in my opinion, it is the hardest army to play on this list, and I don't think it's close. As somebody that has played the army a decent amount within the last couple of years, I knowing exactly when, first of all, when to take that Karak turn, because you need to take Karak turns throughout a game, some number of times, either early to develop him or later when you go for respawns, etc. Knowing how much to commit with your fires at given points, when to push harder than you were currently pushing, because it might be correct to play this matchup more passively for a while, but at some point you might need to make a push, because otherwise if you stay too passive, they can go for a big like initiative switch play or something, right? That like you could have prevented if you had pushed a little more aggressively on your order marker 3 to cut it off, you know? Like there's a ton of nuance in playing that army into the different armies, to where I think on this list it's the hardest to play and it's not close. Maybe that's
I've only ever played it in 2 tournaments and I won both of them. I mean, they were only locals, but like it also causes, like, if people aren't used to playing against it, you have to know what you're doing to avoid getting whooped, I guess.
100%. And again, I'm assuming that my opponent is good. Like that's the thing, is like when I've played with it against good players, it changes everything. Like it's one of those armies where it's one of the clearest skill gap armies in the game, to where if your opponent doesn't know what they're doing into it, you can just absolutely roll them. Like you can just give you super free wins in a way that some of these other armies can't. Like Q9 kind of doesn't have that factor, because Q9's upside is 3 attacks of 3, right? Like that's like when Q9 is played super optimally and the opponent misplays into him, what's Q9 doing to you? 3 attacks of 3. Like that's not actually that good. Like it's good because it's consistent, but the upside of fires is like, oh, you misplayed it into me and now I just burn half your army in a turn, right? Like it's a whole different world of punish for bad play. So I love the army. Again, I actually was going to play that matchup. Like I was going to play that army in cheese. Again, it was just because it was 400 points and I just didn't feel comfortable playing the 8X version. I just thought it was a little too weak, and I didn't want to do that to myself. So Chris is saying sort of the same thing with heavies and Bernie with chasers. I agree. Like if you just don't play it well into them and they just get too much value out of their chomps, etc. But the difference there is just like that's over time.
People know what to expect. People know what to expect, I think, against those things versus fire elementals. They just don't see them as often.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah. So that's my thing with fires, is I think they're tier 2. I think they're better than most people think. I think people look at the rankings, they see that they're at A-, and they would think, okay, they're down with the Phantom Knights because like the Phantom Knights counter the range and the Firestorm counters the melee. But it's like, I think that's a super, how do I say it? Like it's just not quite accurate, I don't think. Again, you're gonna have a tough time in the 10th. Like that's not the matchup you want to face. So like into this metagame as well. Like that was the other thing, is I just knew I was gonna see. I didn't know that it was going to be a quarter of the field. I kind of had a feeling it would be a large portion of the field, but like a quarter is a lot. Like that's a lot of 10th. But realistically, 22%, that's on average 1 out of your 5 Swiss games. Ideally, you can beat 4 other things. And that was the problem, is I just didn't feel like 8x was quite enough to beat the other things to get me the 4 and 1 needed to make it into cut. But I actually felt like it was a good army if I could sneak into cut, because what you could add was quite good. It was 2 extra fires to go up to 10, and then Mara Warriors. And you would be facing a lot of like Q9 rats in cut. Like I was expecting to see like a lot of Q9 rats or like heavies in cut. And I felt like Firestorm at that point total then in cut was going to be quite good. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should have risked it. Maybe I should have run it. But I was happy to just sleep in and not play the event and not go like 0-2 drop, right? Like wake up, go 0-2 drop because I ran 8 fires.
Right. Sleep is good.
Sleep is good. And we don't get enough of it at EscapeCon.
We don't. Because we play Elder Scrolls all night.
Yeah, so let's talk chasers now, because Chris just brought them up. There's 2 different builds I want to talk about, and I'm just going to put them both into tier 2.5 right now, not because they're tier 2.5, but just to move them up so that we can see them, okay? We're talking about OG chasers and chasers burning. And what I mean by OG is like your classic like chasers, Nirak, Raylan, Miberxa army. Like at 400, it was actually a perfect point total for it. 4 squads of chasers with all 3 of those. The upside of that army is you have Miberxa pings. Miberxa's 5 defense, so he gives you some play potentially into something like 10th. You have 5 defense for him, of course, 4 defense for your chasers, 5 defense for Nirak, and then Nirak is actually making your chasers 5 defense, sorry, not 4 defense. It's like a high defense with high offense, but it's just fragile because you're only getting 4 squads of chasers at that point total. 455 is probably a little better for them. It's kind of hard to me to justify that army, though, at the end of the day. I think it's actually right where it belongs, tier 2.5. I think it's, like, not a bad army. I think it's better than Phantom Knights into the expected meta, but at the end of the day, like, do you really want to play that Chasers army into heavies? I don't think so.
Which chaser army?
Sorry, like, Chasers with, like, Miberxa, Nirak, and Raylan. No Bernie yet. No Bernie.
Okay, got it.
The original Chasers build. I think it's like tier 2.5, honestly. Like, I don't think you want to play like Q9 Rats really, 10th really, heavies, like Knights. Like, what exactly are we beating with this? I don't think a ton. We're beating Fam Knights. That's something.
You're beating PKs. I mean, yeah, you got a chance into some other stuff, but I don't think you're favored in many of them.
I agree. I think you have a chance into a lot of things, actually, because 4 attack dice, even like 4 attack dice can do work into like 10th, and you have Miberxa into 10th as well. You have paralyzed stairs, which are actually quite good into rats for opening up holes that you can go for like a disengage glyph, or also nowadays we have the disengage glyph, which does improve them, I think, into like a Q9 rats matchup. So they're not awful. Again, tier 2.5 is like, but I just wouldn't really, I'd be a little surprised to see that they even made cut, if that makes sense, right? Like, they're just a step below. I know most people would have, again, Firestorm down here. To me, though, they're better than most people think. Whereas Chasers, like the original Chasers, I think are weaker.
No, I agree. You didn't, like, yeah. The one time I played them and won a tournament with them was I played them aggressively with the polarizers.
Okay.
So I think like where you're going to go with the Bernie build is probably more like where I would, yeah.
So Pulverizer, unfortunately, is officially dead. There's pretty much
the Warhulk is dead. The Warhulk is dead.
Warhulk is 100% dead. If that was even a question. Pulverizer is pretty much dead as well, right? Bernie just completely out, and that's why I don't have them on here, is I didn't want to, like, just for no reason. The question, like, it's clearly better. So Bernie, what he does for the army is so crazy. Chomp on an 8 life body with 5 attack dice is better than I gave it credit for.
Six move single base, dude. Like,
6 move single base is very powerful. It's one of those things also that, like, again, we're assuming good players, but like people that don't know sometimes get caught because it's like, wait, all the bears have bad movement. Like, that's their whole thing. And then Bernie's randomly like, no, I have great movement. Like, I don't know what's up with that, but
he's wearing Jordans, dude.
Yeah. So the question is where is he going? I think minimum is tier 2, but I think he's probably higher than that.
I like him in tier 2, I think. Just like, and even like for this build, you know, like the fill in the gap of swag riders, right? Well, we got this Ramasaur rider coming out too for 35 points, and he actually bonds with the Chasers too.
He's not bad.
And he's for 35 points, he's an upgrade too. Like so,
Yeah.
like but that's the aggressive style. Like I like the aggressive style. I think he can catch people by surprise a little bit, like you mentioned. But I don't like the. Are you putting Raylan with this one? I mean, I obviously don't like it with Raylan because I feel like it just telegraphs some things too much.
So I didn't.
Are you doing Chasers Bernie without Raylan or Chasers Bernie with Raylan?
I should have had another one, another graphic, honestly, for that. I think it's better with Raylan, but for me, the Raylan list is tier 2 and the Raylan one is tier 1.5. And the reason for that is that 5 defense Bernie, I think, wrecks the Q9 Rats matchup.
I think it just telegraphs too much what's happening next, but I don't know.
I don't know that matters, though, because like Q9 Rats, the whole thing is complete. It telegraphs everything, right? Like, yeah, they might have an ore marker on Rats to like screw you up a little bit, but like at the end of the day, it's not a big deal. Q9, the whole thing is I throw 3 attacks of 3 every turn, and he's still good because just like 3 attacks of 3 every turn is very good. But like Bernie with 5 defense just doesn't die to that.
Maybe. But I mean, but like, I don't, like, I still think, like, I don't know. I don't think, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's better, but it doesn't matter. So.
Yeah.
You put him where you want, Mike.
I have him in tier 1.5. I'm assuming Raylan, without Raylan, I'm at tier 2. I think Bernie is too fragile without Raylan. 3 defense, I don't think holds up. I think 5 defense, 8 life is where he's absolutely crazy.
I just prefer the extra squad. Like, I prefer the extra, like, I'd take an extra squad Ramasaur rider over Raylan, but.
That's super interesting because I think the extra squad just, like, melts to any range.
Well.
And like you're paying, are you paying for Nirak?
Yeah, you have to have Nirak, yeah.
Oh, see, I don't think you have to have Nirak. Oh,
I take Nirak over Raylan in a heartbeat. You take Nirak Ramasaur right over Raylan, like I don't know. Anyway.
Interesting, because I think Raylan is way better than that because of what it does for Bernie. It's like the Nirak argument for like Grimnak is like Nirak obviously helps the heavies too, but like Grimnak going to 5 defense with 5 life is so good, and like Bernie's then 5 defense with 8 life.
But the 8 life and 3 defense already, he's going to absorb a bunch of attacks, and part of it is like it's the same thing with people not figuring out how to target Grimnak versus Bernie. When you've got 3-4 attack chasers in your face that only have 2 defense, maybe 3 with Nirak, like a lot of people are going to switch to there to try to limit the number of attacks and don't realize the threat that Bernie is. Now, granted, like people are, like you said, we're trying to say that these are. Not that those aren't competent players, but you know, the higher level players will know. But it's still like, at what point are you like, okay, well, I got to kill this dude who's wrecking me, but like these 4 attack dudes are also wrecking me, but they only have 2 defense, and I know I can maybe kill them with these attacks, but like these attacks here, I don't know if I can kill Bernie. So it's a super interesting decision point. I think the right is to try and kill Bernie. And then try and thin out the Death Chasers afterwards, because if they're still attacking with the ones that are still forward, they're not developing the ones in the back anyway. Well, so they still have to take a turn to do that. So, yeah.
That to me is the big decision point, is because like I think it really depends on where the next set of chasers are, right? Like if it's like if I kill these 3 chasers and 3 more attacking me next turn, I'm probably just going for Bernie. But if I can kill these 3 and then make it so that Bernie's isolated, like he just dies. Like, if I have heavies, he's just dead on the next order marker.
Right, but I mean, no player should be doing that unless they're, like, on Dagmar or something, and it's an initiative switch.
Right, I agree. But I just think into the range armies, I'd way rather have Raylan, because Bernie with 5 defense is so bad for, like, Q9 to deal with. Like, Q9 is just... He has a tough time dealing with 5 defense Bernie, because you're taking 3 attacks of 3 into my 5 defense 8 life figure. Like, you're just not going to kill him. And then if I move Raylan up and, like, you start targeting my Raylan, like, okay... You're not attacking you're like now Bernie and Chasers are just going to town.
Well, and I've said it many times, and I'll say it again, but Bernie's by far the best Renegade Scape or whatever unit to come out.
I actually wish that was more the power level of everything.
Right.
Just because like I think it's interesting when stuff shakes up metas. I don't want power
Sure.
creep. Like I don't like. I like the fact that we're talking like when we're talking Bernie here, we're talking like tier 1.5 or tier 2. We're not
Correct.
talking
Yep.
like a new tier 0.5, right? Like I think this is
Right.
the perfect place for new armies to slot in, to where it's like if maybe it's a little worse because of the current metagame or something, right? And then maybe it'll shift differently. But like, maybe some people might try to argue for tier 1. I don't think it's tier 1 in classic cheese. I don't think it's quite as good as heavies. And I think it's worse in the 10th regiment than heavies, in my opinion. Maybe some people think that's crazy because Bernie does do a lot of work in that matchup. But at the end of the day, your chasers are more fragile. Like, I don't know. I don't love it. I don't think it's better than knights, for example. I think it's maybe better than knights into 10th. But I'd rather have knights into heavies probably than chasers. And maybe that's wrong. Maybe they are tier 1. I don't know. I'm thinking Raylan version too. Like again, for me, like Raylan list is down here, but I'll throw them up in 1.5. I don't know. It's interesting. I think they're good. I think they're definitely good. They're definitely like quite a, because like I'm talking like top of tier 2. Like I'm sort of putting these in order. Like I'm talking top of tier 2 for chasers, whereas like OG chasers are way down here, right? Like they're just not good. If we're being honest, like within the context of, they're good within the context of Scape, but they're not good within the context of like real armies.
Sure.
Do you want to talk about dwarves?
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, it's interesting because
Do you think they can play?
Bernie's, you know, so it's the same problem, right? Like they're actually good into the Death Chasers, especially the Death Chasers are taking Bernie, but the Death Chasers are also, they also have Nirak, right?
Yeah.
So or me Birdstar, whatever.
Just
so
4
like
defense
they're good
into
in
Nirak is
that.
good.
They have an okay shot into Valiant fourth. Like they're good into Suicide fourth, right? Because if you're using Nilf,
Agreed.
I mean they're okay in the Knights, right? They're good in the Nilf scales. But like heavies, they're okay because of Nirak and Grimneck, but like they're worse in the 10th, right? They're just worse in the 10th period.
Yep.
Because you really have to, I mean, Mogrim has to do so much heavy lifting.
I agree.
In that game, like he has to tank so many attacks, and then or Derek has to roll like crazy on the Hide and Darkness. So, but in Q9 and Rats, like they're decent in the Q9 and Rats. It's just that you have to punch. Once again, though, Mogrim is doing a lot of work on that, and the
Correct.
Tuck doesn't work against specials.
Correct.
So, probably tier 2. You probably want to put them at 2.5, but
man, I think they're just rough into
if you
this.
put them at tier
meta
3,
game.
I am going to kick you. But
No. If anything, I'd be bumping PKs into their own tier, chasers down to 3, and then dwarves down to 2.5 because I think they're better than OG. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're down here. I don't know. The problem is Mogrim just isn't gonna carry enough weight because he's not survivable enough into Q9. That's my big issue with it. Is like we're talking like Bernie or Grimnak. Like Q9 needs so many shots into those, whereas Mogrim 2 defense, no tough is rough.
well, the thing is, like they do okay in lots of stuff, but it's none of the stuff is like. I mean, they're probably good. They're probably better in the heavies just because they're good against Grimnak and Nirak.
I don't agree at all. I don't agree at all.
No,
because
they're better in the heavies than they are, say, like the Valiant fourth, right? Like they have better play into them.
Maybe.
I mean,
yeah.
but the problem is like they don't give you enough like pluses to even out their minuses, right? They don't. So, yeah. So I mean, like I think 2.5 is probably fine for them. I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah, because like even heavies get Nirak, so they're 4 defense. Like you're just throwing 3v4 so much. Like to me, like the defensive auras when played well into dwarves are just so bad for the dwarves. Like even Q9 rats, like unless commander strikes are going through, you're taking 3v6s into rats. Like you don't have an auto.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was 2 Scape cons ago I beat dwarves with the heavies, but like it's just like
correct. Like
and once again, Nirak did so much work there.
Exactly, so. Nirak just wins the matchup by himself. Like just the fact that you're getting 3v3s and the dwarves are getting 3v4s. Like dwarves only, like people used to tell me, and I've always held that heavies win the head to head, or like are favored in the head to head. And like people would argue with me and tell me like dwarves are so good into Grimnack. It's like, just don't let Grimnack get quad engaged. Like, what are we doing here? Like,
yeah, well, the disengage glyph actually gives a little bit of play with them.
It does.
Into that maybe
100%.
But other than that,
disengage changes some things. Obviously, like initiative switch, you can't control it if they engage you with Mogrim and then 4 dwarves and then kill 3 of your heavies, and now Grimnack gets triple engaged. Like, you can't control that, obviously. Like, if it happens, it happens. But unless it's something crazy like that, on average, just like dwarves aren't winning the head to head. Like not that they're not winning, but they're not favored. Not if Grimnack gets played well, and like Nerex should never be attacked. Like again, unless it's disengaged glyph.
Right.
And that actually in that game you're talking about, it was like, if I remember correctly, it was on the same map. Maybe it was disengage and move glyph on the same map, and like that's like bonkers for dwarves, where their 8 move disengage in that matchup is like crazy town.
Yeah, 8 move dwarves is really good.
Yes.
8 move dwarves is really good.
Or maybe that's what it was. Maybe it wasn't disengage in that matchup that I'm thinking about. It was specifically it was move glyph, and like move glyph does change some things. Yeah, dwarves. Yeah, I don't know. They're just so rough into like the best stuff, which is interesting because I think into just like a more fair army. Like I think Valiant 4th is a super fair army in like the fact that what do they do on offense? Usually 4 attacks of 2 to 3. What do they do on defense? Defense of 3. Like there's just nothing special about them. And I think like into those types of armies, the dwarves actually look pretty good. Because they can just grind them fine and play that game. But the problem is like the best armies are doing pretty unfair things. Like 10th Regiment into melee have the bayonets, the weight and fire, and the 5 defense. Like that's just such a good toolkit to deal with melee. And like the heavies have Grimnack inevitability. Where just like if Grimnack gets too many chomps, he just wins the game by himself. And then Q9 Rats is just like good luck getting to Q9. You know, he's just sort of untouchable into some armies. Whereas like dwarves just don't play well into those types of things. They're just not favored in any of them. So I think 2.5 is probably right. And Romans, I'm kind of in the same tier, which is unfortunate. I like all 3 of these armies. I don't think Romans. I think they're better than Phantoms, but I don't think they can really be above 2.5.
Yeah, they're better than dwarves. They're probably better than chasers.
Really?
But they just win the numbers. They win the numbers.
So are you talking head to head or just generally better? Because I think they're worse into stuff like Q9.
Oh no, head to head. Like they're worse into the 4th.
Oh, sure.
They're worse in the Q9 Rats. They're worse into the weight and fire.
Right.
I don't know about Nilf scales. That'd be interesting, actually.
I think dwarves are quite good there.
What's that?
I think dwarves are quite good there.
No, I'm talking about Romans and the Nilf scales.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. So
to me, they're probably bottom of 2.5. Even though
I think they're fine there.
Yeah.
They're better in the head-to-head melee matchups because they're cheaper.
Correct.
Right?
And they get me.
I mean, but that's
Burks is a great tool in the melee mirrors.
Yeah, and that's about it, right?
Yeah.
That's about the only thing they bring to the table. They don't bring any other bonuses to the table. They're not better than anything else.
Correct. And if you're really trying to beat melee, like you can just play 10th or Trons.
Right.
So I think they're hard to justify, which is unfortunate. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Tommy, no, I am not doing a Rennet Cheese tier list. No.
It's not even a thing.
Correct. Because like cheese, like even V cheese, like V cheese isn't just like
let's do a Rennet
scape.
Cheese list real quick. Maladrix is good. All right, we're done.
Let's talk about Rennet Cheese in 8 months. Oh, guess what? Cobra Troopers and Chain Gruts and Score Dire at the right point, total and figure limit, and the Necros are all good.
Yep, done.
There you
go.
Was fast. All right, I just mentioned them. Let's talk about Trons.
Yeah, and my bias is probably gonna disagree with you on this one.
To me, it's like bottom of tier 2 because I think it's just not a good metagame for
Yeah,
them.
I'm thinking 1.5, but it's because they destroy the stuff that I really enjoy.
Okay. Maybe they're bottom of 1.5. I think
I
you're
put them in 1.5, but like just because like they're just so debilitating to knights.
right.
But like but heavies can win. Heavies can definitely win against Trons. We've seen that several times. I think Jacob beat Isaac with that, and I beat Spider with that. So like they're definitely able to do that.
I'm thinking like here. I think like
1.7, 1.75.
no, I think they're worse than fourth.
So
I think they're worse than fourth into like the overall metagame. Because I think I'd rather have fourth into 10th than I'd rather have fourth into Q9 Rats. So I'm thinking like middle of tier 2. I think that's pretty reasonable. Like they're a decent army. They're not bad.
oh, you're also doing it by like each tier. You're also rating them.
I'm kind of well, I didn't do that for
Oh,
the top tier because I
put Trons at the front of I put the Trons at front of the pack on tier 2 for sure.
I'm not convinced on tier 1 as to what should be up front. I'm kind of thinking like Q9 Rats probably overall the best. Maybe I don't know. It's hard to say. Maybe heavies are the overall. I don't think heavies are the best army in the game. I think Q9 Rats is probably the best army in the game. I think heavies are probably into like the field. I think heavies are probably second and
Well,
then 10th.
the other thing Q9 does is he allows you to be dumb and still sometimes get out of it because he's just got 7 defense, right? Like so, like that's the thing Q9 brings to the table that not like a few other things do. So
Okay, so Chris is saying Tron's tier 2, and I think I agree with that. I think probably middle of tier 2. I don't know. I think fourth is better. I think Suicide fourth and Valiant fourth are both better. I think they're
like I said,
probably better than Trons.
my melee bias is coming out in that one. So
Maybe
I 100% know that. So
I don't know. That's probably too spicy to put Firestorm above them. Yeah, it's probably too spicy.
All right, next. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's something like this. I don't know. Anyways, let's talk about mixed dwarves. Mixed dwarves is what Nathan ran. He went 3-2 at ScapeCon 4. He was the only one to run mixed dwarves. I think it's an interesting concept. He was running 3 squads of dwarves with Raylan and Krav. The whole concept there is like you're getting you can use the Krav to thin out certain things like green scales to make it so that your dwarves can get at the large things. You can use your Krav to thin out. It's sort of like the mixed knights, right? The knights with Raylan and Mara warriors, where you can thin out potentially some heavies to set up a favorable matchup for dwarves into like Grimneck at that point in the end game. Theoretically, maybe it buffs. It probably improves. It definitely improves your 10th matchup. I'm not sure if it's enough to like really move the needle on that because you still like Krav aren't just gonna solo 20/10th if we're being honest. So it's an interesting concept. It could also be like dwarves with Q9. There are a couple different ways you can try to build it, but essentially what I'm including with this graphic is basically all sorts of like dwarves with some other piece, as opposed to just straight dwarves with Mogrim, which is pretty much what we're talking about with dwarves otherwise, or dwarves with Mogrim and Derek, depending on the point total and figure limit. I don't know. I think probably still maybe it's bottom of tier 2. I think it might be slightly better into some matchups enough to elevate it. But
you like it better than straight dwarves? I just think like because you're talking about like the Krav can thin out the green scales. Like they don't need help thinning out the green scales. Like I'd rather have more axe grinders. I think it's worse than straight dwarves. I think like it does give you more options into the 10th, right? But it's still like if 4 10th are shooting at Krav, if I kill 1 Krav, what's that going to take me? Two turns to kill 1 Krav with 5 defense. Then I'm like, okay, sure, put your activate 2 figures on your turn. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm pulling up real quick the run. I want to see like what he beat and lost to. Even like it's obviously a minuscule sample size of 4 games, like that's nothing. And obviously Nathan's a very good player. So it's a little hard to take it at face value. What's that?
3 and 2 would be 5 games, not 4, but that's okay. Math is hard.
Okay, right. Yeah. Okay. My computer is lagging. I saw his first loss was to Chompy, so I'm presuming that was heavies. Yeah, that was
So
heavy.
what website are you using to look all this information up, Mike?
So there's a great website called the HeroScape Battle Network that I'm just joking. HeroScape.org, of course.
Oh, HeroScape.org. Huh.
He lost to Chompy. Chompy was playing 4 squads of heavies in Grimnack. Actually, funny enough, in that matchup, I think I like that build better than the Nerek build, maybe. Just because like you just want enough heavies to handle everything. Then he lost to Max. Max was playing, I think, Q9 Rats. Yeah, Q9 Rats.
Does Max know how to play anything else?
He beat Gordon. He beat you. Gordon was playing 5 squads of 4th Mass. So I guess Krav did enough work there.
Like I said, hey, just remember this is about competent players.
Wow, that's harsh. He beat Nick the Ants, 3 squads of Phantoms in Nilfheim.
But once again,
yeah, I can see that.
all doors would have been better there.
All doors definitely would have been better. And then he beat Shurig playing. Who's Shurig playing? Nilf, 2 squads of green scales and Raylan. So then he beat Nilf green scales.
Once again, all doors is better there.
Maybe. I mean, I can see the argument to like use Krav to thin out a little, I guess, if you try, but not really. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. I'm convinced. It's 2.5.
Yeah.
I just don't think the Krav do enough there, and like even if you go like the Q9 version, like I don't think Q9 does enough for you. Yeah, without Raylan, unless you're going like 2 squads of doors with Q9 and Raylan or some crap like that, but that's not good. Zach is in the chat now. Zach saying that.
Yeah, but like I said, only like 30% of what he says is even relevant. So.
Jeez. 4th Army is
Gordon's 31%. So.
4th is 1.5. I don't know.
The sad thing is I agreed with him. So like, but he must have missed the first part of that when we talked about it. So that's on him.
Maybe they are. I'm leaning that way. Maybe they're better than Suicide.
I told you they were. You gonna believe Zach over me?
Yes.
What kind of world are we living in?
Okay, we got 4 more to tier. We have arrows, mixed stingers, straight stingers, and unique box.
I know where all 4 of these go, but
there's no way all 4 of these go into tier 3. Even though that's where you would put them.
I would put all 4 of these in tier 3 100%.
You actually would probably make a tier 5 for one of these.
Correct.
Okay, let's talk straight stingers. I'm going to throw it up into top of tier 2.
What? They're so bad in they're so okay. Tell me. Okay. They're bad in the Q9 Rats. They're bad in
They're
the
not
10th.
bad in the Q9 Rats. They're not bad in the 10th. They're playable into both of those.
They're bad in the 10th. They have a range of 5. Who cares? They're bad in the Knights.
They're
probably okay in the Nilf scales.
Yes. I think they're favored in the Nilf scales, first of all. I think they're
bad in the Valiant 4th.
I don't think they're that bad. I don't think they're as bad as you think into those matchups. They have 5 defense dice.
They get destroyed by Romans. They get destroyed by doors. They get destroyed by Knights. They get destroyed by heavies.
I think they more play than you get.
They lose to PKs.
I think they have more play. First of all, sorry, jumping into the chat real quick. Chris, I agree. I think Valiant 4th, if we're talking about like really ideal point totals, makes sense at 1.5. The thing is, I think that's like exactly like 1 point total or like thereabouts, like 420 to like 440, 450 maybe even. I think they don't scale well at all. I think they scale horribly, which is why I was leaning tier 2. But I agree, like if it's like the perfect point total, I think 1.5 probably makes sense, even though I think in general, like at most point totals, I think they're more like a tier 2 army because I don't think they're going to hit the point total well. I don't know. I think maybe they're below Suicide Fourth actually. No, maybe they're better than Suicide Fourth. I don't know. I think they're here in tier two. I think they're like if somebody like tops an event with singers, I'm not surprised. Nobody plays them first of all, but like if somebody tops an event with
I
singers,
wonder why.
I don't think it's because they're bad. I think people are just biased to play what they want, as we see from 22% of the field being 10th Regiment. Like, come on. Like, 10th Regiment are not that good to where they should be 22% of the field. Like, not into 20% of the field, Q9 Rats. Like, what? Like, we're beating 9% Knights and 7% Heavies. Like, that's where we're playing 22% of the field is playing 10th. Like, are we kidding?
You think Stingers are better than Knights, Raylan, and Trons?
I think they're better than mixed Knights. I don't think, yeah. I think they're better than Trons because I think Trons aren't like not enough people play melee to make Trons good. People are range biased and Trons aren't good into range. Like I don't see a reason to play Trons. Like I would rather play 10th because 10th is better into the other range armies while still being good into melee. Like you don't spike as hard into the melee armies. Like 10th don't beat melee as well as Trons beat melee, but your range matchups are better, and I think that's more important.
Okay, but this is about Stingers. Quit trying to make it about Trons.
Well, that's my argument for Trons not being that great is like Stingers. Like I think Stingers are slightly better. Yes, I think they have a more even matchup spread. I
They're
don't
better
think
than
they
Knights
lose.
Fourth or Knights Raylan. Sorry,
Maybe not. Maybe they're down here. I don't know. I can see this.
we do that. We do know.
I think this might be fair. Okay. Well, but even that event I talked about, Chris, Nick was playing 3 squads of Phantom Knights in Nilfheim, so he's not playing just straight Stingers. At that event, Seapon 4, we had 3 Stingers armies. One of them was pure Stingers. It was 5 squads of Stingers and I think like Krav or something. And then the other 2 armies were mixed Stingers, which I actually added afterwards, so they're not represented really. They're represented on here, but they weren't represented in my graph. So there was only one, and nobody played 5 squads of Stingers, Raylan Marku, which is what like the standard 400-point Stingers army is for straight Stingers. So I think it's pretty accurate to say nobody's really playing them. I don't think that army's bad though. I think it's playable and everything. 5 defense is just good enough. That's my opinion. 5 defense is good enough. I know you'll disagree with me, Ken. You would have them down here, but this is where I'm putting them.
1000%. Like I think they're just so bad into the field.
Let me ask you: would you rather play against 5 squads of Stingers and Raylan, or like 4 squads of Stingers and Nilfheim?
5 squads of Stingers and Raylan.
You think the Nilfheim version's better?
No, I think Nilf offers more. The variation that Nilf offers though is more troubling than just an extra squad of Stingers with Raylan.
Interesting. Okay. Even though so don't you run into a little bit of the same problem though with like Valiant Fourth of like Nilfheim gets left with a life, like what do you do with him?
100%. Yeah, 100%. Like, but once again, like I just the 3 activations on the Stingers with a range 5 is just so bad in the melee. It's just Nilf at least gives you. Well, I guess it's easily a range 5 with 4 attack. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they don't have, and that's no Raylan. I'm not sure. I think they're both more. They're just both bad. they're just both not good. Like I think there's, like I think Stingers Rats is better than that.
So I have mixed Stingers probably at the bottom of tier 2.5. I think it's worse than straight
I'm not going to disagree with you at all. So
I think it's worse than straight Stingers. I think Stingers Raylan is better. If anything,
I think Stingers Rats Raylan is or Stingers Rats Kamigawa Raylan or whatever. Like that's, I just think Stingers Rats is better than Stingers Nilf in all honesty, and I think Stingers Rats might be better than straight Stingers. Because that's a lot of, at least you're giving yourself something for melee to punch through while you're taking those attacks.
You're just giving yourself such a worse chance than the Q9 Rats.
Sure, but if you want to be Q9 Rats, take heavies. I don't know.
I don't know. First of all, I'm kind of representing all that with like the mixed Stingers. Like it's like like any like just straight, not just straight up Stingers Raylan or like Stingers Raylan with like a filler or like a cleanup hero or something, right? Like even like a like I'm not like straight Stingers. What I mean it what I mean by straight Stingers is like X number of squads of Stingers plus Raylan plus maybe like a Hydra, right, or Mara Warriors or something that you're cleaning up with.
Or Kaminower or something, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas like the mixed Stingers could encompass like the rats version. I know it's different than like the nil version. I think all those builds though are just worse than playing normal Stingers. I think into melee they're better, but I think into like the rest of the field I'd rather probably have more squads of Stingers because 5 defense you just want enough of them.
And once again, that's still my bias coming out a little bit because rats are just way more annoying than all Stingers. Like all Stingers, I can go to get to a Stinger and kill it. With rats, like I might have to kill 6 rats before I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
So that buys you more. That buys you more time to get your shot. You know your attacks. So
they might be. Are dwarves the worst thing in tier 2.5? No, I think they're probably better than chasers and Romans. I think mixed dwarves are worse than normal dwarves. I think mixed dwarves are worse than. Maybe it's this. I don't know. It's like so subjective that who cares? As like specific order within tiers and stuff. We got
nobody
last
cares.
ones.
Why are we doing this anyway?
We got 2 last ones. We have uniques and
all
arrows.
right, and we know where these go.
Well, we don't know where these go. Let's start with arrows. I think arrows are tier 3. I think they're better than phantoms,
1000%.
but I think they're not good enough.
Sure. Sure, I agree.
Raylan, like I'm assuming like it's like Raylan with Mimring, arrows, and then maybe a couple swags thrown in as well. You have some plays into like Q9 rats specifically because you outrange Q9 for like unless Q9 wants to just take the 1 attack for each turn, which is probably what he wants to do. But the rats don't get a ton of value in that matchup because Mimring gets to just toast them, no scatters. He can just
and everybody has
right
disengage.
Everybody has disengage. Like you have play like, but at the end of the day, is that even favored? And I don't know. I don't think the answer is yes because Mimring even with Raylan has 5 defense and 5 life, and Q9 has 9 defense and 4 life.
Well, and at the end of the day, like if that's the only thing that maybe you're up in your win percentage on, like I don't like everything else on the field. Like I'm just like, nope, they lose. Nope, they lose. Nope, they lose.
Right.
Yeah. Especially after if Mimring falls, like you're just like, what do I do now?
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree. Okay, that was quick.
Yeah, arrows suck. Move on.
The last one is, I think, pretty interesting. So Chris went. He didn't play it at ScapeCon. It was some other cheese event. It was a lot smaller, but he still went like 4-1 with it or something. I think it was one of Sir H's online events where it was like 400 points classic cheese, and he played. I think it was classic cheese, and I think he played, or maybe it was V cheese, but he didn't play any VC figures in it, and so it was like Q9, Raylan, Mara Warriors, and oh no, maybe he had VC. I don't remember. Anyways, it's like some combination of just like the best uniques you can play for the most part. Maybe a couple squads of rats thrown in, but it's definitely not like Q9 rats as we think about it, right? Like maybe it's like 2 squads of rats, which is like at that point you're out of the line, I think, of Q9 rats because Q9 rats to me is like minimum 3 rats. You could have Krav in there, you could have Hydra in there. It might be top, but maybe it's bottom of tier 2.5.
No, it's the problem. The problem is with a unique focus build, like it's just so easy to neuter that, right? So I think you have to do tier 3. Like I just think it's too easy to minus the Mara Warriors. The Mara Warriors do Mara Warrior things, but like if I kill a crab or if I kill a, what else you put in there besides?
Well, you're
Crab and Mara Warriors.
You're 310 point, like you start with 310, right? Like 310 is every single time, which is Q9, Raylan, Mara Warriors, and you're kind of hoping that does enough. So like at 400, somebody could have run that with 2 squads of rats.
So this is just another variation of a Q9 build.
Oh, it's absolutely Q9.
Oh.
In classic cheese.
I would relabel that then.
I'm just saying, but it's like it's unique spaced. Q9 is most certainly in there. You could maybe try to run like Nilfheim instead, but more likely than not, it's Q9. Maybe somebody could find a way to make it work
I,
without Q9. I don't know.
I think you have too many variations in of it. Like I think that's too hard to categorize just as unique box. Then I don't know. So
I'm assuming like sort of the best version, or maybe it's like Q9, Raylan, Mar Warriors, and Exiles, right? It's like
and no rats.
no rats,
Oh, okay. Uh,
something like that.
yeah, it's
Like
way worse.
oh,
Way worse. I mean that just dies to lots of things.
yeah. I mean, like Exiles are not bad. They can alpha strike. Like, sorry, that's X-wing terminology. They can get early strikes into like melee armies to put some pressure on. Like they can put pressure onto Grimneck or Nerak, for example, into heavies. They have disengage, etc. Like all these things. Don't they have disengage? Am I going crazy? Or is that only on
Yes.
stealthy?
Yeah. No, they do. They do. I think the biggest problem with the unique box is that the unique box gets destroyed by initiative switches, right? Because you lack redundancy.
Yeah.
Um, so like Dagmar's huge in that battle. So
Yeah, and you don't have a screen obviously for Q9 really. I don't know. Maybe it's tier 3. Maybe it's Cope that I'm putting up in tier 2.5.
anything with Q9 in it is probably a 2.5 tier.
Chris, when you say it's at least tier 2.5 is better than Aerogruts and PKs, you're talking about uniques. I think it's probably better than
Yeah, I think it is.
it's probably tier
He's talking
2.5
about it.
then. It's better than those, I agree. I was actually on the fly considering dropping these down to like tier 4 of like these don't even need to be talked about. I just want to include for completeness sort of like everything that most people would think is playable. Um, yeah, I'm not sure it's worse than Mixed Stingers though, the unique box. I don't know. Maybe it is.
Everything's worse than Stingers. Wait.
whoa,
Stingers,
whoa, whoa! New tier list just
Stingers
Rob
are worse.
Singer's tier 1.
Oh man, that's what happens when I stay up too late. Um, no, I mean overall, like over. Yeah, I agree with Chris. Q9 No Rats is probably a better label. I agree. I think
Sure.
overall, like I would probably shift Q9 down to tier 1.5. And then obviously, like, right. Obviously, I would have Stingers. I mean, realistically, at the end of 2.5. Um, and probably have Tron shifted up a little bit more. But other than that, like overall, like I don't think this assessment is too far off. So, um, yeah.
And then Chris was saying that he thinks Romans are the top of tier 2.5, like that they're better than dwarves and chasers, which is interesting. I think dwarves are the best of the three, but I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, they're best into the rest of the crowd.
Mm.
So I mean, amongst themselves, the Romans might be better than everything else in that tier, but I think the axe grinders are better into like the rest of the crowd.
That's
So
kind of where I was at too. Is that I think it goes. I think Romans are the worst because I don't like Romans in a range.
they're just too slow. Even with Marcus,
They're
they're
too
just
slow.
like the shield wall is just too. It's too such a limiting factor.
Yeah, and you don't get the jump.
Um,
You don't get the jump with the chasers. You don't get the 6 move flexibility with the
yeah,
dwarves. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think
yeah.
this it's reasonably close.
I mean, Chris, like, yeah, like, and this is like, I'm not, I understand I see things differently just because of the way I play the game, and my perspective on things. I get it, but like, Q9 is just not, I don't think it's a problem, like, as a general rule. Like, I know a lot of people, like, think he is, but he's 100% more beatable to me than, like, Tenthar. Like, I think, like, a nightmare scenario for me is Marcus Raylan back 10th. Um, especially in old school maps. So, but I yeah, Q9 just has to, like three, like Mike said, at the end of the day, it's 3 attacks of 3.
Right.
And that's not a disaster. Like with 10th Regiment back, like 10th Regiment back Marcus with weight and fire, like I just might as well go home and go back to bed. Like so yeah, so that I mean that I understand my perspective. My perspective is a bit different than others. But I don't think it's necessarily too far off because there's just yeah, like I said, and I think that was great when you said at the end of the day, Q9's three attacks are three. So
Yeah, that's how I feel
um,
about him. Is just like, and that's sort of the
yeah,
reason I called it unique box as opposed to like Q9. Is I feel like it future proofs better in the sense that I actually feel like the first 130 is almost always going to be Raylan plus Mara Warriors, and it's possible that something gets released that like makes it so you don't actually need Q9 with it because at the end of the day it is only three attacks of three, right? Whereas like I feel like what Maros and Raylan do for 130 total is so strong that there might be people might find other ways to build that don't include Q9, and I could be completely wrong. But I feel like Q9 is the worst of those three in a uniques only build, if that makes sense. Even though he might currently be the most important of the three.
and what would have been it like? Like you have a Hydra as a bodyguard, but like if we could, like it would be cool to like have if Frost Claws plus Elgrim could be the bodyguard instead of for Q9, the Elgrim dies, Q9 gets six move. Not that everyone wants Q9 with six move, but the bottom line is like they're still worse than say Q9 dividers is interesting too. Um,
Mm. I didn't put dividers on here because I don't think they're. I don't think they're.
oh no! I'm just thinking like Q9 dividers to me is much more interesting than like Q9 unique box.
Sure. Sure.
So, but
Yeah.
because I think Fish Taco did well with that in 2010. So, um, and I'm sure people have run it since then. Like you don't have to reinvent the wheel anymore like you did back then. So,
Not really.
um,
That army really doesn't see any play anymore.
oh, it doesn't.
It's all play at
Interesting.
ScapeCon 5 in the restricted list event that allowed it.
Hmm.
A couple people did well with it, so it was a small event, but still, like the restricted list was pretty favorable for Q9 five squads of dividers to do well.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it. Yeah, I mean, dividers are super interesting, but I think that they definitely have a place in maybe not this tier list, but at least the tier right under it. So
I agree, and
yeah,
honestly, if
like
we're like
they're probably better than arrows and PKs, but
maybe I'm not convinced they're better than
yeah,
arrows, but they're probably better than phantoms. Yeah, I don't know. Like I feel like the hard cutoff is sort of at the end of tier 2.5 of like tier 3 like I would be shocked that somebody made cut with one of these.
yeah, you have to have a lot of things go right.
Correct. Whereas
A
the
lot of
bottom
things
line
go
with
right. I mean,
the unique box has that same thing we were talking about though of like Q9 sometimes just doesn't die. Like
right? Yeah,
yeah.
we mentioned that before,
Yeah.
and I think like part of when you look at this, it's been fascinating, right? Because at the very beginning of the game, like arrow guts
Right.
were the
Yep.
ruled, and then like then you start having the fourth mass and trons, and then like there's always mixed Romans with fourth mass at the time because the 10th didn't exist, and
Right.
then stingers come on and make a huge splash, and then Q9 rats Raylan, and then the heavies come. Like it's been fun to kind of watch, like, oh, then heavies come in to counter that, and then yeah, so it's been fun to kind of watch the evolution of the metagame over the years, and hopefully, the new ReneScape figures will add to this. I mean, maybe in a year we'll be able to say, oh, like Chain Grudge should be tier 2.5. Like I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see after it's all said and done.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's tough. ReneScape is tough because the AOA units aren't even close, right? Like other than Bernie, like the AOA
Right.
units, like even when we were talking about Doors, we're not even talking about Dorum because Dorum is too fragile.
Correct.
Um,
Yep.
it's unfortunate that the rest of the AOA stuff. I mentioned Exiles briefly. Exiles are like the biggest issue for Exiles is just that the Mara Warriors exist, and like how often are you gonna have like you're almost never taking Exiles.
125 points, 8 figures.
Correct. Like when are you taking both? And if you're not taking both, when are you actually taking Exiles over the Mara Warriors? That's the big question. And it's like, other than specifically unique box, it's not happening. So you
I
get
mean,
past
and that's part of the AOA problem is too. It's a unique heavy format. Like Maladrex is good, but like Maladrex Great Bows just does not. I mean, what does that beat in this?
yeah. I
Does it
mean,
maybe beat arrows? It maybe beats arrows. I don't know, but like
no. No,
Um,
Mimring lights that up, I think. Maybe not, I don't know.
yeah, I'm not sure, but like I think everything else beats that.
Yeah.
So like it's just I'm not sure. Well, actually, great bows can move around the trons. That's interesting. And so can queen move around the glads, but like dwarves look so much better into AOA stuff because everything is ginormous. Um, but yeah, but like when Cobra Troopers come out, are they going to affect things with the twins and
Well,
Raylan? Like, it'll be
I
interesting to see. So,
Cobra's I have a bad feeling we might need a new tier if we're adding Cobras into this at the right point total. I mean, I guess we'll see, but maybe not a new tier, but they're going to be high. They're very good at the right point total. Um, yeah, I don't know.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think they'll be good at the right point total. I think Chain Gret's got a chance, and I mean, you already mentioned all the ones that are going to be decent. So I don't.
I guess Tommy was talking about. Sorry, when Tommy was talking about Rena cheese, he meant like Rena points. I'm not interested in that personally, but somebody else could do a
I mean,
tier
the
list for
tenth
Rena points.
I guess who's unaffected? Chasers, Bernie's unaffected.
Chasers, Bernie's unaffected. Heavies,
Valiant fourth. No, they're affected. Chasers, Bernie's unaffected.
yep. Heavies is lightly affected because
Trons.
Grimnack doesn't go up that much. So like heavies are very good in it. Like heavies are what most people think are
And
very
Trons.
good. Trons are extremely good at the right point total and figure limit. I don't know. I'm just
Well,
not.
Raylan goes up, right? Does Raylan go up?
Raylan goes up, but not enough to affect Trons really that much.
Okay.
It's more the figure limit.
That's true.
The figure limits I've seen have been the more problematic part for Trons, where they're not getting 3 squads of Glads to go with the 2 squads of Blasts. Like they have the points, but they don't have the figures.
Axe Grinders might go up too.
I don't know. I just play Chasers at that point. It really kills Q9 rats. It shifts stuff around. I don't know. I'm just not interested in it though. I'm not interested in just like changing 10 cards. I'd rather like I like restricted list metas more. I think they affect more things. I think they're more interesting. Changing 10 cards to me is not interesting. So not for me.
I mean, you're not going to get any counter argument from me for that. So
yeah, so let us know in the comments where you think we got it wrong. I see Ryan already told me to delete my account for putting green skills at 1.5. 1.5 I think is perfectly fair for green skills.
Has Ryan won an event at all ever?
Yikes.
Like, this guy talking.
I think 1.5 is totally fair. I don't think they're as good as the top 3.
Is it not in the chat?
No, this was on Discord. So, yeah, I don't know. 1.5 to me is very, very fair. Then the day they're not like they just, I don't know. I don't think they're good enough into melee. I think they have issues into melee. I think he plays against bad melee players and then judges his opinion on that. But maybe I'm wrong. Like, enjoy your 9 green skills into Grimnack. So yeah, so I'll be back with Chris eventually. I'll see when he's available. I'm hoping Friday. That'd be ideal to me, but if not, maybe next week for V Cheese tier list. But I'm glad, Ken, I'm glad you were available this morning for a nice tier list. I know you don't agree with everything. By the way, you're muted. Or you lost your Wi-Fi. Yeah, you're muted. Boomers in the morning. He might just be gone. He's saying he lost me. This This is the content people like to see. Ken, unmute. Oops, Chris is telling me Friday's no good. So I'll let you know when we're doing that. Am I muted? No, I'm not muted. Hello? All right, I guess I'll just kill the stream. Anyways, yeah, let us know in the comments what you think. Thanks, Ken, for joining for some amount of time. Sorry you're a boomer. It happens. I hope one day I'm not as bad at technology as you. But yeah, I'm going to kill the stream. So good night, everybody.